Alright guys, what's up? Back with another video. Today I'm going to talk about why you shouldn't give up when it comes to skill building and why it's worth it to actually push through. So the format of this video is going to be, I've kind of divided the phases of skill building up into 3 sections, and I want to talk about each of those sections and kind of talk about the path, okay, to mastery in whatever skill it is you want to get. So first off, I did make a small graphic. I'll talk about this after, so don't worry about it for now. Let's talk about the beginning phase. So the beginning phase, first off, in my opinion, it's a lot longer than you might believe because gathering information initially is very difficult, and actually getting to some level of proficiency within a skill takes a decent bit of time. So in my opinion, this stage usually lasts a couple months. It could even last like a year or so, depending on how much you're engaging with your skill. But most people give up during this stage. So I think a lot of people have never even gotten out of this stage with any skill unless they were put into a situation where they were forced to improve something. So a lot of people just never actually get out of this stage. They're constantly stuck in this cycle of being in the beginning stage and then quitting and then trying and then quitting and trying and quitting. So I don't want that to happen to you. So to get out of this stage, it's going to take some effort, okay? But I think having the mindset that maybe you can get from this video will help you push through this stage, okay, and get into some of the later stages. So yeah, most people give up during this stage. So even though learning a new skill is fun and fresh and exciting in some ways, every single piece of information you gather, every single new thing you learn within your skill, you have to fight for it, okay? It's not going to come easily. Now in the later stages, it's still not going to come easily, but it will become more easily because you have more context surrounding your skill. So picking up new things within your skill becomes much easier in the later stages. But in the beginning stage, you have almost no context for what you're learning. So actually gathering information and applying that information is very difficult. So yeah, most people give up very easily during this stage because it really takes quite a bit of time, many hours, for your brain to truly start adjusting to whatever skill you're learning. So to give you an example, I recently bought a keyboard again because I want to get back into piano. I used to play piano when I was a child, and then I learned to play guitar. I got pretty good at guitar and then quit. But now I decided I want to go back and learn piano again because I was missing playing an instrument in my life. Anyways, I came back and there was a song I wanted to learn, so I started trying that song, right? And it was really freaking difficult, okay? Very difficult. My hands didn't want to work together, okay? Obviously, when you're a beginner, okay, I'm not necessarily a beginner in piano, but kind of going back to being sort of a beginner again because I haven't played in so many years. Things take a long time. Every single song you learn, it's going to take many hours of effort. You may have to spend hours of effort just on one specific piece of that song, okay? It won't be like that forever, right? But this is the beginning phase. But when I consistently sit there and play the song slowly and focus on those individual kind of chokeholds I'm running into, so I can play it up until this point and then I can't play it anymore because something gets difficult or there's something I don't know how to do or I need to change the configuration of my hands, etc., etc. I focus on those points, okay? I spend 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours just focusing on that point, and eventually I break through and I can move on to the next point. And when you do that consistently over many days, something that seemed initially impossible actually becomes possible to play, okay? Now that doesn't mean you become an intermediate player, obviously, just because you played one song. But if you do this over and over with a variety of different songs, for example with piano, and keep learning and learning, eventually you will leave that beginner stage and you've built so much context through so many different things you've done within your skill that you move into the intermediate phase where learning becomes a little more easier and everything becomes a little more enjoyable. So most people quit during the beginning stage because you don't get that instant gratification, right? It takes time for you to build yourself up, okay? So at the beginning, you have to have some persistence. You have to have a little bit of discipline and know that if you keep doing the right things, you keep pushing yourself, things that seem initially impossible are entirely possible. Actually, those things will eventually become very simple and easy to you. So hopefully this helps you with the beginning stage. I have other tips for maintaining your motivation and things like that. So if you're curious, check out some of my other long form content. I think you can find something that'll help you. Anyways, leaving the beginning stage, once you've gotten enough context and you practice your skill enough, you start to become pretty proficient in your skill. This is when you move into the middle phase. Now the middle phase, it becomes a little more enjoyable, right? It becomes a little more enjoyable, but it's also not just smooth sailing in the middle stage. It is, in my opinion, easier than the beginning stage because you're kind of got momentum going, you're kind of moving forward. So although you're enjoying it more, there's still periods of despair because once you reach the middle stage too, you kind of lose your Dunning-Kruger effect and you realize how much you actually suck at your skill and how much there is actually to go and how much you need to learn. And that can be really intimidating, but you have to remember, just like the beginning stage, you're going to learn that information very slowly over time, as long as you just stick to it, as long as you keep doing the right input. Now, the middle stage, you're actually improving very quickly. You're actually gaining a ton of information and learning a lot of things very quickly. But the more you improve at a skill, okay, the less you feel the improvement. In the beginning to the middle stage, you feel a lot of improvement. And then in the middle to kind of like late stage skill building, you don't feel that improvement quite as much. It feels more stretched out, but you are actually improving at the same rate. You're still gaining information at the same rate. It just takes a longer time to feel that improvement. Okay, because some of those more advanced concepts, those more advanced things, they take a long time to learn. You have to put a lot of time into them, but eventually you'll learn them and improve. It just feels like it takes longer than in the beginning where you learn a ton all at once, right? Now moving on to the middle stage, again, it starts to become more enjoyable, right? You start to express yourself a little more within your skill. And what I mean by expressing yourself is sometimes in skills or whatever you're doing, there are two equally good options, right? You could do this thing or you could do that thing within your skill. Like for example, in jiu-jitsu, maybe in a certain situation, you could move into a leg entanglement, or you could transition to another guard, or you could use it to start going into a sweep or whatever it is in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Or in chess, maybe you want to play a more attacking game, so you go for a certain move over a different move, or things like that. Okay, that's when you can start to kind of bring your skill out, because two equally good options, bring your kind of like personal energy out. Two equally good options, whichever one matches more with your personality, more with what you want to do, you can select. And then eventually when you get to a very high level, everything's kind of like that, and you can express yourself very clearly through the moves you make. But yeah, in the middle stage, that starts to come out more and more. You start to get preferences for what you like within your skill. You start to become more connected to your skill. Everything starts to feel a little more fluid and simple. And this stage, it really depends on what your goals are for your skill. Okay, if you want to be like a world champion at something, the middle stage probably going to be a very long time, might be 5-10 years in this intermediate stage where you're gaining information as fast as you can, right? But if you just want to get to a reasonable level, okay, and you don't want to push to like really, really top 1%, top 0.1%, etc., maybe it only lasts a couple years, maybe it lasts a year, maybe it lasts 6 months, okay? It depends on what your goal with your skill. But when you've basically decided, okay, I've gotten to a good level, I don't really care to keep pushing as hard as I was before, I just want to enjoy my skill, that's when I'd say you go into the end game. Now, once you're in the end game, all of this effort that you put in up until then is basically just the basis of you enjoying your skill, if that makes sense. So all that effort, all that despair, all that pain you put into, and the end game, it's going to be 100% you just enjoying your skill because you've already put in all the work. Now, of course, you can keep improving, you can keep trying to improve, but my basic point is when you've gotten to a level you like and enjoy and you don't really have a drive to improve anymore, that's when I would say you've reached the end game of your skill, and now you can just focus on maintaining what you have. And maintaining what you have is much easier than building new skills and building more information. So in the end game, you can just passively improve. You don't have to actively work on improving. And you can, if you don't want to improve, just maintain what you already have. So if you're playing piano, maybe you don't want to keep trying to learn harder and harder pieces. You just stop and just enjoy the pieces you already know, enjoy doing what it is you already do on the piano, and stop trying to improve, but just maintain what you have. Now, personally, that's fine. There are some skills where I have that are just in kind of a maintenance phase, but I like to keep improving, so I kind of prefer staying in the middle stage, depending on the skill, obviously. But again, once you get to the end game too, your own personal expression starts to come out much more. You start to almost just 100% enjoy your skill. It's just something you do when you want to have fun, when you want to when you want to express yourself, when you want to impress somebody. Yeah, and you can really express your own personal style and your skill when you reach this stage. Of course, depending on what level you actually are when you reach this stage, because if you're still kind of like lower level and you're just maintaining your skill, it's going to be harder to, put in your personal style to the skill because you don't have actually that high of a skill level, even though you are in the end game of your skill building journey with that skill. But if you have reached like a really high level, top 1%, etc., your own personal style can really start to come out a lot, and it becomes very enjoyable, very fun, a way of expressing yourself, a way of connecting to others and things like that. And this stage is like the dream stage that you want to get when you're in the beginning, but everyone wants to get to this stage, but when they actually feel what the beginning stage and the middle stage is like, well, it becomes very difficult to actually reach that, because I guess in their mind, they think the amount of effort I have to put in the beginning and middle stage isn't worth what I get in the end game, which in my opinion could be 100% accurate depending on the skill. But at some point or another, I think it's good just to pick a skill and bring it to the end game, get it to a very high level, because then you can do it over and over again with other skills. And I think you'll find that almost any skill done at a very high level is very enjoyable, very fun. So I think there is value in it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be monetary value or whatever it is. It could literally just be fun for you. So yeah, don't give up on your skill. You will make it through these stages and get to the end game as long as you keep doing the right things. If you want advice on what to actually do when learning, how to study or how to improve at your skill, etc., check out some of my other long form videos. I have a lot of videos relating to that specifically, and I think they can help you. So anyways, last part of the video, let's get into this graph I made. So it's very hard to see probably. So here's time. The more time that goes by with your skill, the more time you spend. So this is kind of time spent with your skill. The more you do enjoy it, okay? So your enjoyment level goes up. So enjoyment is the x-axis, time is the y. And then in the beginning, as you can see, your enjoyment is almost nothing, but you start to get a grasp on what you're doing. Your enjoyment starts to go up and go up. You move into the middle phase here. Your enjoyment starts to go up and down because again, it is fun. Don't get me wrong, the middle stage is fun, but there are periods of despair in the middle stage, periods where you think there's just too much, I'm not improving as fast as I want, I feel like I'm not improving, etc. Then eventually you get through the middle stage and you get to the skill level you want, okay? And you get into your late stage, your end game, and your enjoyment goes back up and kind of flatlines within the skill. And you can just kind of enjoy what you have. You don't have to worry about improving or worry about not being good enough, depending on the skill and depending on the person, but you can just enjoy what you built. So guys, don't give up on skill building. Keep going through the stages, get to the end. If you want help with it, check out my other long form content. Please feel free to ask any questions you may have in the comment. Guys, please leave a like and subscribe. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.